All right, yo, what's good, guys? It's your boy No Name. Got a quick heater for you guys, right? First things on the screens that you see here. I just bought a mage. I bought an apothecary on stream the other day, and I now want to talk a little bit about how I did it, right? But so introducing Project Apothecary. This is my new project that I wanted to put together, right? And so the goal here is obviously I'm gonna get a Mageblood, right? Like I want a Mageblood. I haven't had one in a while, and I kind of want to play with one, do some stuff. But I realize this is an opportunity to really talk about making a Mageblood and how difficult these like pinnacle gear, like Mageblood, like Headhunter, even in some cases like a well-rolled ashes and whatnot, can be seen as very difficult or unattainable to achieve, especially if you're a player who's never really played with that level of investment, or if you haven't, if you're not, an avid crafter or gambler and whatnot, money makes more money, but like, what do you do if you don't have a lot? And so I put together this project to show that, there's avenues and builds capable of farming out Mageblood at low investment, even if you're like a chronic reroller, right? And so here's the constraints that I put it within. I'm going to farm each apothecary using a different strategy and build, right? That's the goal. The builds themselves are always going to be within 10 divines of investment. And my strategies will start out low investment. What low investment means is determined by the project itself, by the strategy itself. And this then may become a reinvestment of profits when, the acceleration of my gains is justified by the investment needed to make it happen. Right. And so that gets determined on a strategy by strategy basis, and you'll understand a little bit more about what I mean there. Especially when I talk through this video, right? And I'm just reiterating the goal because I really want, like, this is like the mission behind this set of videos. I am not just like, I mean, obviously the views and whatnot are nice, but really it's about just there's not enough pieces out there adding my piece out there to how you can achieve these pieces, these goals of yours on a budget, right? And if you're curious, no, this video is not, you saw the same thing. You're like, wait, build? The build video will be coming out separately. It'll be the video after this. Talking about how I put together the build and things that I recommend in order to make it happen, at least for this specific build, right? So the project will always go. I'm gonna farm an apothecary. I do the farming on stream. You should check it out. It's pretty fun. It's a good time to hang out. You can ask questions and all that good stuff. You can make fun of me while I fuck things up. It's always a good time. Um, but we do the farming on stream. I do a little bit of off stream farming, but most of like the big farming or like trading or anything is handled on stream. Just because I want you guys to see how it's being. I want it all recorded to be able to see how it's done, and then feedback, all that good stuff. Then after it's done, I record one of these videos to talk about the actual strategy itself, and a separate video to talk about the build, so that they're both together, both resources that are usable. All right, with all that's a really long introduction. It'll be the only time I run through the introduction in that level of depth, but this is the first of the series, and so I wanted to make sure I covered it well, right? So Sanctum is actually the first mechanic I chose. What is the Forbidden Sanctum? Well, there's a couple things about it that are important. One, when it was announced, I was really, really excited when they announced this one back in 320, so 2 leagues ago, because it is literally just a roguelike and an ARPG if they were put together. And I really like that, right? I love playing PoE and I love roguelikes. I've been recently raving on stream about Astrea Six-Sided Oracles. Check it out if you haven't. This is not an ad of any sort. I just really like the game, and I think more people should try it out. But I've been playing roguelikes really avidly for the past like 8 years now. And I will always show them when I get the chance. So seeing that there was a version of it in PoE, I thought it was sick. But its original iteration did need to take some time off. While the rewards were there, like it was always a very rewarding mechanic, they needed to figure out what they were going to do with sanctified relics, which they ended up not going core. And the other thing was figure out if 32 maps per full sanctum was reasonable. And instead, what they did is they just made sanctum tomes a fully itemized like experience instead of having to run maps to get them, which has made them so much more enjoyable and a little bit more broken. And that screenshot you see there is just one of the many, many, many Sanctum screenshots you will see places. If you see people post screenshots where they suddenly just have like 16 divines in a single screenshot, you're like, what in the world? Did they just drop those on the floor? No, they were running Sanctum. That's just like end loop for one of my runs. This was actually kind of a soy run, honestly. Only 20 sextants and one divine. Like I had better runs, but it happens. The important thing is loot. So, quick crash course on how Sanctum works, because everybody sees Sanctum is a lot of money. But maybe you've never done it before, maybe you've never interacted. You can skip forward if you have, but just a quick crash course, right? So Sanctum, like all roguelites, have boons and afflictions. Other games you might hear them referred to as relics and curses or whatever it may be, positives and negatives, right? And so boons make your run better, afflictions make the run worse. And so, like, for me, I'm a huge fan of things like All Seeing Eye is probably just the most broken boon in the game. It completely reveals the map going forward, which is a big part of like the decision making process of how you're going to get your money. And then Hairfoot makes you fast. Sanguine Violent Ornate Dagger. They lower enemy HP and increase your damage, which is just the things die faster special. We love that, especially when you're on a budget character, right? Making things die even quicker is so comfy. And then Silver Tongue, I just really like this one because I'm a huge fan of the merchant. I think merchants in all of these games is always good, and ability to make the merchant cheaper, therefore leveraging a lot of power through them is very good. Now afflictions that I avoid for very similar reasons. Then right, Golden Smoke hides the rewards. We do not want to be hiding rewards because on floor 4 we want to hunt down every divine insight. Purple Smoke hides afflictions, like as in like when you get them, you want to actually know what affliction you're getting. Do not take this if you could ever afford it. It just runs the risk of bricking your run. Liquid Cowardice is one of the few afflictions that I find if you don't already have a Mageblood, just bricks you hard. Because it gives you a resolve penalty on using a flask, and yes, instilling orb triggers count. So you just end up burning resolve out of nowhere if you get this on accident, or even worse if you just have it and forget to take off your flask. Like then you have to take off your flask and you're slow. Like it's just miserable altogether. Deceptive Mirror takes you to places that you didn't click on, and this includes getting the affliction from places you didn't click on as well, instead of what you were going to get. So like it's very messed up. You do not want this. And a Cursed Prism gives you random afflictions. Don't take that either, right? And then at the bottom there, I just included imagery that shows what the like icons look like when they do and do not give you an affliction, right? Rooms with the purple eye outline will give you afflictions. Boons, unfortunately, do not come from the rooms like this unless it is specifically there's a specific type of room that gives them, right? But generally speaking, if you see a room in a purple outline, it's going to give you an affliction, and it'll tell you what affliction it's going to give you. So then if you see one of the trash ones, skip them. I also like to skip like the ones that reduce coins. We'll talk about that later on, right? Next up, there's the room type cheat sheet here. Shout out to Reddit for this one. I'll have the link in the comments. I have a link in the description so that you can put this in like your on your second screen or wherever you want while you're looking at it. This information stopped being relevant to me for after too long, but there are a couple things that I remember thinking about when I was farming this in other environments besides pure trade. Namely, mini bosses drop relics better than other options, or find exit rooms are really fast if your character is fast, whereas if your character is not fast, battle arenas are a little bit more suited. But battle arenas have traps that are very rough to deal with sometimes. So, it all balances out. This is the sheet for that if you want to like nerd out and really use that information. What I'm really here to talk about is the rewards, obviously, right? These are the special part of the process. And so there are 5 different types of room primarily. Chests, which give coins. There are fountains. Fountains give there are 4 different types of fountains. There's a regular fountain, which restores resolve. Afflicted fountains will restore more resolve at the cost of giving you an affliction. Benevolent fountains, they cost more than all the other fountain types and also do not do anything with resolve outside of like a relic or a boon telling it to. But it does give you a boon, and it can give you majors, which is pretty sick. I've gotten an all-seeing eye from it a couple times. Even like a silver discry, which is pretty cool. And then radiant fountains are fairly rare. I think they're the rarest room type. They give you resolve, inspiration, a boon, and an affliction. And they remove an affliction, my bad, not give you an affliction. Like it's a very loaded fountain type, fairly rare, almost always worth taking when you see it. Merchant is where you buy things from with your coins. They also have a healing option, but mainly you're looking for the relics or the boons that they offer, but they also do sell relics sometimes, and that's like a part of a different strategy. I'll talk about that later though. Then there's the currency and the accursed pact rooms, and these are how you cash out in your sanctums. Currency rooms will always show you what there is on offer, and you can then pick money you literally pick an offer. It's instant money, end of floor money, end of run money. Like those are the 3 types of money, and you pick those on all of those. And you'll also get the same option after taking an accursed pact. The only thing is that you have to actually take at least one of the accursed pacts in order to get the choice to do so. And no, I said at least one. Accursed pacts provide you with 3 ways to mess yourself up. But a lot of those you can just pick only one. and then get the rewards, or pick two or three if they all actually end up being beneficial to you. You'll figure out what you like the most through just playing the mechanic a lot, right? All right, so how do we get rich, right? Because cool and all that, like the system works and all that, but how do I make money, right? Where's the money? So the money is in two major places, right? So major source number one is actually in the relics themselves that they drop. This actually starts with the unique relics that the Herald of the Scourge drops. No, I'm not telling you what her name is. Like, if you haven't done it before, I don't want to spoil anything for you, right? But like, the Herald of the Scourge, she drops a relic and a unique relic and a rare relic every time you kill her, guaranteed. Now you can stack quantity to make her actually drop, like quantity of relics, by the way, not player quant, but like quantity of relics dropped from monsters in the Sanctum will increase the amount of these that she drops. And you can actually get her to drop, like on the screen here, you see I have two uniques and two rare magics. The uniques were not the same in this photo, and so unfortunately, I would have loved that they were the same because one of them was actually worth something and the other wasn't. But is what it is. Now magic relics have value. Oh, right. Before I go to the magic relics, unique relics, the major ones that I found that I was selling were the Gilded Chalice and the Hour of Divinity. These just duplicate rewards. People pay for they duplicate rewards in exchange for making the run harder. People run these because their characters are nutty strong and they're invested very well in making those duplications actually good. I was not, so I'm just selling those off. They were zero 0.7 and 2.1 divines each, like free money every time I saw them. And you see them a lot, especially with quant. What about magic relics? So magic relics have a couple places of their own as well that they're valuable, and every type of magic relic base actually has valuable rolls on it. The major rolls that I was looking for are quantity of relics dropped from monsters, 24% or higher was two divines, by the way, like two divines for 24% or higher. And then on a +2, there's merchant additional choices. +1 was like decent. +2, I sold my +2 that I dropped for about 3.5 divines. There's a sub note here about merchant prices, and that's because there is a strategy that relies on stacking merchant price reduction alongside choice increases. And I'll talk about that later on. It's like a really high investment way to play Sanctum for absolutely ridiculous profit. But those relics are absurdly expensive. Like +2 choices alone was only 3.5, while the inclusion of reduced prices, especially at the 6 or 7% roll, is just know it's a lot of money. If you drop one of these, cash out, baby. Let's go. Now what about, and the last one here is additional rooms are revealed, 1 or 2. They're both very valuable, and in fact 2 rooms revealed is the highest value single mod at 9.5 divines. And all of these are great things to look forward to, and plus if you just find some decent ones that aren't necessarily that expensive, like you might be able to use them, right? Like 19 quants isn't expensive, but you could use it before you invest deeper into your own strategy, right? So stuff like that. Then rewards from uniques themselves. So namely in this strategy at this time in the league, Balance of Terror from the Blood of Innocence unique relic. Balance of Terror is the jewel that gets 2 modifiers based on curses that you cast. Now, obviously, if you hit the Despair one, it's Giga money, but you could also just sell them unidentified, like people do with Watcher's Eyes. Leave the Gamba to other people. I like that option personally for actually making money, but for fun, I love IDing them and hoping that I hit big. So, pick your favorite on this course. I didn't actually sell any for this experiment because I only did like 2 relics with it at the end just while I was waiting for things to sell, just for fun. Now, the other source, way better, by the way, way better, is the currency. Look, the currency is where it's really at. This is where it really hits. Every single time I click that chest at the end and I hear the ding and all the, it's just so good. It's just so good. It's what makes Sanctum feel great. I really like, they need to balance the currency itself in some way, shape, or form, but God, I love the way it hits. And so there's 3 sources of getting currency rewards to show up in Sanctum. You either get them from the currency or accursed pact room types that I talked about earlier, or after killing a floor boss, you also get offered 2 of those things, except for the end boss. You'll get offered 2 like offer screens. The offer screen you can see on your right there of just, like for example, this is a really good offer screen. It had Awakened Sextants, which are always a good gimme option. Which those are roughly the same value as the chaos at the bottom. It's a little bit better than the chaos at the bottom there, but there's a divine in the middle. We love that. And I wrote down the list of good rewards that I was looking for off of currency rooms always on the side, as well as the amounts that they get. based on the slot that they were in. So you'll look below on the bottom left there, and you'll see that it says, Vol Orb, Orb of Making, Chaos Orb, right? Notes, all of these are roughly the same price and value, so all of them work kind of fine the same way. And they actually also are very similarly spread out in how much you see per like type. But the amounts that I wrote here are based on the placement in this sequence, right? So Vol Orb is first. A Vol Orb pickup that is right now was always 4 Vol Orbs. Then an on making pickup that was that was at the end of the floor was like some middle of it, I can't remember actually. And a chaos orb at the end is always 14 chaos. So for example, divines, you'll never see them as a grab a divine right now, but you'll either see 1 divine at the end of the floor or 2 divines at the end of the sanctum. And those are like decisions that you can use to influence. Those are information you can influence your decisions with. I see 16 sextants at the end, or I see 1 divine at the floor, and I'm ready to go that way, right? So take advantage of this information. This is like the prime. This is like the stuff that really makes the dopamine hit, right? Like this is what makes Sanctum feel good. Also your character's damage, but mainly this. Now let's talk about my strategy, right? How did I make my money? Back to the picture of the relics, right? This is what I did. I was stacking relic quantity when I started investing. When I invested a little bit more on day 2, and we'll talk about that later in the next slide. But when I invested a little bit more, it was just about getting quantity, because quantity has a chance of making her drop slip like that. On default, like I said earlier, it's 1 unique, 1 magic, right? But with enough quant, she will drop. She tries to duplicate either of those drops. It's not actually duplicate. She just drops another. But at 89% quant, she is guaranteed to drop 2. And I believe, I can't remember if that 89% is with or without the urn. I believe it's without the urn, but enchanted urn is a boon that increases the effect of your relics. If somebody knows, please confirm that for me. I just remember hearing that 89% was a number that I should be aiming for. But it is a little wasteful depending on how you get there. Now, my strategy plays very simple. On floors 1 to 3, I'm looking for primarily coins and merchants. Really, I just want boons without getting terrible afflictions. That's the name of the game. I'm looking for stuff like Hairfoot for movement speed. I'm looking for Vial or Dagger to do more damage. Silver Tongue to buy out more stuff. Ways to stack Inspiration just to make the run even smoother and to pad myself out against accursed packs, right? Whatever in general, I'm playing for boons at this point in the game. If I see a Divine, I'm taking it though on floor 3. Also, sextants start to show up on 2 or 3. And sometimes I would take them if I saw 16s, but I was usually like prioritizing money or prioritizing coins in order to get stronger. Then by floor 3, if you're set up, it's time to hunt money. But if it's 4-4, you're definitely hunting money, especially divines. Sextants are a sub note because they're still very good, but divines, and to the point where accursed packs in floor 1 to 3, you're taking them because you want more character power. In floor 4, you're taking an accursed pack because you don't see any divines and you want money. Like, that's the gameplay. What is the cost of investment, by the way? When I went ahead and invested into the process, it like 23% is actually fairly cheap, around 30 to 50 chaos each when I bought them, which is a lot of quant. And there's 2 different relic types that get them, the coffer relic and the papyrus relic. There's also the candlestick, but the candlestick doesn't work with the arrangement that I was going for, which is 4 quant relics and my +2 reveal relic that I dropped really early on. Also leaves room for like a balance of terror run if I wanted to. Next up, so like I said, I actually started with terrible relics. Like it was just a bunch of like gain coin on start and whatnot. It was terrible. Like, oh my god, after you unlock all this stuff. Then in that first day of the process, I invested a div into some tomes, 15 tomes to get started. And I made 25 div on that day. Like we made a lot of money in the first day. And this included some brick sanctums because I was figuring out some stuff with the build, getting used to it. I rejigged the investment a little bit to one, actually be more efficient with the money, but also make sure that my output was better. And I did drop a +2 reveal like I mentioned, but I used it instead of sold it because it was just so efficient for making my farming even better. But like honestly, I didn't get that insane of value out of it. I think I spotted divines like 1 or 2 times ever out of it. I don't know. It wasn't insane. You got to really stack those up to get nutty value out of it. And so in day 2, I bought 2 div worth of tomes, so 30 more tomes. And I also spent about 7 div to get some better relics to get my quant up. But it's noted, like I said, I spent 7 div because I just bought some 2 divs, or I bought some like 24s for 2 div, and then immediately was like, why didn't I just buy a 23? They're dirt cheap. So like I said on the previous slide, buy 23s, don't buy 24s. You are getting finessed. But I bought 24s, roughly about 90 quant or so on my carrot on there, and then I have my +2, and we ran 14 more tones and I was done with the apothecary. It was genuinely that fast. And then I worth noting for the rest of the series, I don't think any of the other farms are going to be that efficient. Like Sanctum prints money at a ridiculous rate. Do not get used to. Like if you're gonna farm Sanctum, like if you want to become unbroke quick, get a good Sanctum build going. And that's what the next video is going to be about. So you should definitely check out my next video, right? But this video, right? We talk about this is how I made this type of money on low investment. Like this is low investment. Imagine what I could do if I really invested in the strategy and the character, right? And so that gets into my next slide. Let's talk about what if we invest harder in the strategy. So I would say like the mid-range investment in the strategy is by stacking reveals. You use a bunch of +2 and or +1 reveals depending on your price point to open up the entire map. Right. There are a lot of rooms, I believe, but you can stack 18 relics of this size. And so you can actually stack 36 reveals, which is way too much. You don't actually need that many. So you can reveal the entire map through relics and therefore pretend to have all-seeing eye. And then you just play, again, play for coins and boons, but you're looking for divines like crazy. But the cost point is pretty high because reveals are very well valued. So keep that in mind. Now, it's a good strategy though. Like it's very good. It's very consistent. Having permanent all-seeing eye is just good. It picks up most of your relic spots, but it's good. Now, what about the other strategy though? The merchant strategy. This is the one that prints money. When you see people who are like, oh, they're buying up your like gilded chalices and whatnot, they're probably setting this strategy up in some degree, because what they're doing is they're stacking +2 merchant choices and reduced prices at 39% reduced prices. When you combine in enchanted earn for 30% effect, that'll get you to about 51% ish reduced prices of like in the merchant, and then you combine that with silver tongue for another 50, which then means that the shop is free, and every time you see the merchant you just buy literally everything she sells. And I've missed a goal actually in here. So there's all-seeing eye, which wins the run pretty much immediately. Damage boons always are great. Mirror of Fortune on floors 3 and 4 to duplicate divines. Then there's also stuff like just seeing good relics, right? With so many choices, you'll actually start to see relics more and more from the merchant, and you might just see good relics to buy out of the merchant. Buy those, they sell, right? And so floor 1 to 3 on this strategy is just going nuts on the merchant while keeping an eye out to see if you see any divines. And then when you're playing this type of run, the most important thing is that on floor 4, you can never take anything that isn't a divine as a delayed reward. And on earlier runs, you never want to take anything that isn't a divine as an end of sanctum reward. You can get away with end of floor on those points still, but you never want to take end of sanctum rewards that aren't divines, because since you have bought up every boon in the game, there's a small selection of boons that are reusable because they have a single function, and you're going to continue to buy those over and over from merchants. And so once you've gotten a 2 divine reward, for example, you just want to keep duplicating it over and over and over again through Mirror of Fortune. And that's where the money really starts to kick in at from this strategy. That's how those screenshots kick up. Then you add in Gilded Chalice for 4 more duplicated offer rewards, and now you've just got duplicated divines everywhere. It's insane. And how much does this cost? A lot. I was told on stream the other night that they were 2 mirrors to buy a full set of perfect relics. But I think you just trim this down by, using +1 choice instead of +2 choice, or having a little bit less reduced price. So you actually still have a little bit of cost, but like you have most of the idea down, and then just invest harder as you go. Remember, you do not have to do all of your investments in a strategy all at once. You are allowed to upgrade, and that's how this worked, right? Like I said, when I started my strategy, I was using bad relics until I bought better relics, and then you buy even better relics and better relics, and right, like that's the idea. Be comfortable with the idea of investing further in your strategy to make more money. I just didn't go this hard because I knew that I could make my apothecary on a very simple strategy. And so let's talk about builds that I recommend for the strat. First and foremost is the one that I played. I played a cold shockwave totem hierophant. You know, Grim Sorrow, Heat Shiver, the whole deal. You're gonna notice a really big theme with all of these builds, which is that they are builds that have range and can kill without interacting with the enemy and can freeze. Those are the three major criteria I feel like exist in order for there to be an effective Sanctum farmer. You want to be able to kill without interaction. You want to be able to freeze, and you want to be able to do it from range. And all of these skills do that very well. I played Cold Shockwave Totem Hierophant because it is the lowest budget out of these skills for sure. Um, I mean, I got it done. I got this like playing effectively. I had like 31 million DPS, I think, on like 8 investment or something like that. Like it's something insane. You'll see in my next video, right? Then there's also Stormbrand, which is played best on Inquis or Assassin. They're both very strong. I personally prefer Inquis, but they're both very strong. Icicle Mine, Deadeye, or Assassin. Those are kind of personal choices. I think Assassin has a little bit more raw damage, but Deadeye's inbuilt chain, just the inbuilt chain and projectiles feels a lot better for rooms like Infernum, which is a floor 3 battle arena that is just really annoying because of like the curvature in the room sometimes and the traps. The chaining off of the walls really feels great in there. And then Tornado Shot Deadeye, just another skill with great reach and great bounce, and you can chain and all that good stuff, right? Or Far Shot, like the whole thing really just comes together with Tornado Shot as well. So these are the 4 builds that I highly recommend. Again, you're scaling freeze, you're scaling uninteractability, you're scaling ridiculously high damage. I do really ridiculously high damage. Like, my recommendation is that while you're on low budget and figuring things out, have a little bit of survivability. Like, my character was tuned to specifically live a certain attack from the swordsman who teleport and then swung, because if it like he could one shot you if you go lower than where I was at, and that would break your run. Also, one of the few ways you actually die to damage in Sanctum. But the characters, as you get on the higher end and you get even you get better at it as a skill, and your damage gets even better and better and better, you will start to cut all of your defenses, because realistically, you just shouldn't be getting hit. You do that much damage. You're just that fast, right? Like that's the whole idea. Anyways, there's a lot going on. But so thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for sitting through all this. There's always more of these to come, more things to come, whether it's, you know, the remainder of this project, right? Like I said, the next video is going to be hopefully tomorrow. Should be tomorrow, right? Or tomorrow if you're watching this on the day it dropped. Otherwise, it should already be out. Talking about my Shockwave Totem Hierophant and how I set it up to do Sanctums on such a cheap budget. Like I said, shoestring budget of a character. And then, you know, the remainder of the project. And if you want to see things live as we're working on it, come by the Twitch channel, NoName619. The link will be in the description down below. I stream early afternoon, primarily during the week, and then on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I tend to try to stream longer into the evenings, so that, you know, I can just really play the game more and also cover more content. But to give you guys more of what you want to see, I just can't stream that much during the week due to my working schedule, right? Anyways, again, thanks for watching. Subscribe. Like, the likes really would help though, honestly. You know, let me know if there's any strategies that you want to see me do this for. I haven't settled my list of 5 yet. So if there's any strategies you want to see, let me know, and I could maybe make it happen. You know, come by the stream or leave it in the comments. Either way, I hope this helped. I hope this inspired you to become a Sanctum farmer. And if it didn't, well, I gotta try next time, right? But take care. Thank you for watching and love the support. Take care. Have a great one, you all.